So you see the title down below, and obviously it's been 5 years, and in that 5 years, especially this year, we've seen, I guess you could say, not the total abolishment or dissolution, or desolation, if you will, of the wokeness, extreme SJW, extreme cancel culture, you name it, kind of died down, if not have the kind of stroke it used to have. But now the question obviously is it time to bring, Pepe Le Pew, who was canceled back in 2020 because of who he was, is it time to bring him back? Because one thing we've noticed over the past year so far, in these past 8 months, is the fact that a lot of, like I said, a lot of the, cultures and wokeness and everything that I've mentioned, they don't have the stroke. They don't have the stroke. Trying to find the right word to say. They don't have the stroke they used to have, and because they don't have that stroke, a lot of things that were once kind of canceled or put on the shelf indefinitely are now being slowly but surely uncanceled or, brought off the shelf with, precaution. And now the question is, should Pepe join that list? Should he join that list of, characters and moments and stuff like that, which pretty much got that indefinite shelf treatment, that got that cancelness treatment? Should he be given a second chance 5 years later? And I think if there's anything we've learned from Fifi Le Fume, who was inspired by Pepe Le Pew in the original Tiny Toon Adventures, if there's anything we've learned about her return, her re-debut in Tiny Toons University, is you can bring a character back, but you don't have to make them entirely like they used to be. Instead, you can switch them up to where you could still keep a bit of that personality in them, but, make it more, I guess you could say modernized, more acceptable by today's standards. And with Fifi in University, they did just that. You still had that bit of Fifi-ness in there, but they gave her a personality that fit more in tune with what was going on. The same with Elmira Duff. Elmira Duff wasn't the same Elmira she used to be. Yeah, they kept in her, squeezing and hugging people when she would greet them and all that, because that's pretty much a part of her character, but she wasn't the animal pursue her, the animal imprisoner and all that she used to be. Now she was an artiste, a photographic artiste, if you know what I mean. So they found a way they found ways to change these characters to be more acceptable for modern times. And now the question is, could they do the same with Pepe? And I think they can. I think if you want to keep a little bit of the peppiness in there, that's fine, but also make it to where it's more acceptable in today's world, in today's realm. Like if you want him to be attracted to a female like Penelope, that's fine, but do it in a way to where, it's more acceptable. Like, he wants to try to impress her, and basically it takes himself to realize he might be going just a bit overboard for him to scale it back to try to win her, try to win her heart, win her hand. So yeah, I think if they can, do what they did with Fifi, do what they did with Elmira in University, kind of keep that, quirkiness and personality that they used to have, but update it and modernize it, for today's realm, and give them, something different outside of what they originally were, but to go with that, but to go with some of that original personality they had, then I think they could do the same with Pepe Le Pew. I really do. Because when you look at the fact that a lot of fans still love this character. A lot of fans do. A lot of fans still love this character. They love Penelope, and they want to see these characters back. I mean, Penelope is, being utilized more so now than ever, I guess, because Pepe's not around right now, because, she was used in Bugs Bunny's Builders and all that, so she's still being utilized. And she's talking. She's got a voice now. And that all started with Cara Blanca, of course. But yeah, people, when they see her, obviously they're reminded of Pepe. So by being reminded of Pepe, they would like to see him be given another opportunity, at the spotlight, but I think done in a more modern way, to where, again, as I said, you could keep his persona. He can keep a bit of his persona that he used to have, but update it to where it's not so, like, ugh, I don't want to see this character, or, oh, this character shouldn't even be in today's world. Make it more acceptable, more, up to date, to where, it meets the social standards. But yeah, I think he honestly does deserve a second chance. I really do. I really do think he deserves a second chance, because, I think, you're missing out on a character that, really just was a mainstay with the Looney Tunes crew for the longest time. And, everything that I've said about him, and everything people like Doug Walker, Nostalgia Critic, has said about him, to try to counteract, in a sense, people being against him, we stand by. We stand by that. Because, in the original shorts, he was delusional. He didn't understand until it hit him in the face, like in Really Sent, that, oh, the reason this girl cat, or as he would see her as a femme fatale skunkette, the reason she's running from me is because of my stench. The reason people are running from me, the reason, the flowers are wilting and all that, the reason, other animals are passing out when I walk by them, is because of my stench. So it has to hit him in the face to make him realize, hey, I have to do something about this. And, to me, I think, the opportunity is there, to really just, and like I said, to me, the opportunity is really there to, to build upon that, to take those kind of traits to where it, in the original, it has to literally hit him in the face to make him realize what's the problem, him being that problem, his stench being the problem. You could take some of those elements and modernize them to where if he does get attracted to Penelope, and he wants to try to impress her, but not do it in such a old school extreme way like he used to, but do it in a way that's more subtle, more like just giving off hints and everything, but then realize, hey, maybe I should just be myself. And, oh, I do have this stench. Maybe I should do something about it. Or at least I should try to control it. To me, you take those elements that I mentioned and modernize it for his character today, and I think it could work. And I think, honestly, that's what they wanted to do originally many years ago. Because many years ago, one of the movies Warner Brothers wanted to do, and this was, I think, about a year or two before several years, I think, before the Discovery merger. One of the things they wanted to do was a Pepe Le Pew movie. Where him and Penelope would be like the main focus, and they would both be talking, and obviously it was going to probably lead to them on screen officially being an item. But I think in that movie they were going to have Pepe realize, the error of his ways. Like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this, and oh, maybe my stench isn't suitable for a lot of people, and all that. So. So I think that's probably what they were going to do with his character. But again, movie didn't happen, and then this whole thing with, canceling the character occurred, and it's like, one thing led to the next, one thing led to another, and before you knew it, Pepe was pretty much shelved indefinitely. But I think, like I said, if you take a little bit of the personality he used to have, modernize it for today's society, make it acceptable, and then take one of the elements that he would utilize very rarely in his classic cartoons, but make it a prominent part of his character for today's society, and that's making him realize, hey, maybe I'm maybe I'm going a little too far, or maybe I'm doing this, not doing this the right way, and I should, back down a little bit of, oh, my stench may be helping. You take those elements, you modernize it, and everything for today's society, and again, make him more aware of the situation. And I think he could be, brought back in a very respectable, acceptable way. Because there are a lot of things that got canceled throughout the past several years, even during the final year of the first Trump presidency, throughout most of the Biden presidency and everything. There was a lot of things that got canceled by cancel culture, by extreme wokeness, extreme SJWs, you name it. It all pretty much got canceled and shelved indefinitely. Some of these things, people as well, are slowly, but with precaution, slowly being, uncanceled or being unshelved and given a second chance. But again, with precaution, with, some, caveats, some catches, some, probationary clauses, if you will. And if those things and those people are being given that opportunity, then I think a classic Looney Tune character, like I said, I think a character like Pepe, should be given that same opportunity, but with some precautions. And those precautions, like I said, basically having his personality, having a bit of those classic personality, but modernized and updated for today's society. And have some of the elements, like from the classic Really Sent short, brought in to where, he realizes, hey, this is not working, in my favor. I'm being too persistent, and I'm being too, too oblivious to what's going on. And then again, his stench could play a part, like, oh, I need to control this, or I need to, get rid of it temporarily, so I at least have a chance, or at least I could just get to know her, as a friend, and then maybe work from there. So I think, he could work in today's society. His character could be, worked out for today's society, but more modernized. Again, if they could do the thing what they did with Fifi and Elmira in Tiny Toon University, basically take a, kind of modernize who they are for that show, and take, keep some of those same familiar quirks and personality traits they've had and personas they had, but again, modernize it for today's society, to where Fifi isn't, a female version of Pepe anymore, like she was in TTA, Tiny Toon Adventures. And Elmira isn't so grab-happy, pet smothering, pet imprisoning, like she was in Adventures. And instead, they're given different, traits to go along with that familiarity. Like Fifi, she's more of a fashionista, and, Elmira is more of a artistic photographer and everything. So to me, when I look at them doing that with those characters, I can definitely feel that they could do something similar with Pepe. I really do. But what are you guys' thoughts? Do you think enough time has passed to where Pepe Le Pew should be given a second chance, maybe with a bit of a precautionariness to it, and a bit of a change to his personality, to where it's still that familiarity, it's still Pepe, but it's more set and modernized for today's society, to where it's more acceptable, because he'll be more like, acknowledging of his situation outside of what he originally used to be like in the past. Let me know what your thoughts are. I'd love to hear from each and every one of you on this. Comment down below, like the video, ring the bell for notification, subscribe to the channel, click on the links in the description to find my content elsewhere outside of YouTube, as well as click on the link at the bottom to find my Teespring store, to go there and get merchandise you can't get anywhere else. But guys, give me your thoughts on the whole situation. Give me your thoughts on the whole situation here that I've talked about. How do you feel about it? Do you think the time is right? Or do you think maybe he should just stay gone for good? Let me know what your thoughts are. And until then, I am out.